It's not that nothing was being done, but it was the priority or the prioritization of these activities that was really troubling him all the time. And I remember clearly at one time or another, him discussing with Advocate Cronje as to how Eskom could assist the NPA to accelerate some of these cases. But obviously, there was no progress out of that.
Thank you very much, Prof. Mr. Chairman, I hope there might be a second round, but let me waive for now.
I've asked that the craved indulgence of the committee section, but we do need to move towards rounding up. Honorable Bucas, they'll just let us know now how far they're prepared to give us latitude. Honorable Bucas.
Thank you, Chair. It's not always good to be the last one, Chair, but I will
My
try.
bad, the best comes last, though.
You the last one. Chair, I think this committee and the work of this committee is the most watched. I think days of our lives can, yeah, because I'm getting some WhatsApps from rural areas where I'm from to ask, will the grid collapse during this winter? What will happen to Eskom? They don't care about what is happening here because I'm here, I'm representing a constituency and they want answers. But my first question then, Chair, is what are the plans in addressing the technical challenges in Eskom, especially to help in curbing load shedding? I think, Chair, most of my questions are direct. Can I proceed with it? Yes. Then my second one, Chair, is according to the Ruyter, he did fulfill his duty under the Act, under the PRECA Act. And I disagree, Chair of the Board. What is your view on that? Then the third one, Chair, is Honorable Lees was asking about the thing that the former chairperson referred to the subs and the hawks have done their work, then we shouldn't be here today. And as much as I understand that, I want to know what is the role, Ms. Pillay, of security at Eskom? And what are the security loopholes at Eskom? Is it already identified? You almost spent 2 billion on security companies in Eskom. Was it to assist the current Eskom or the security of Eskom, or was it people from outside? And since when are you the head of security in Eskom? Then, Chair, the board considered the contents of the interview as embarrassing. Is there something specific that is embarrassing, or just the interview and report as a whole? Can you be more specific into which part of the interview bring the company into disrepute? Chair, I'm trying to understand the private investigation in the interview of the Ruyter. And then there was money spent. And then the new board come into office in October 2022. So, although they received money from outside, was there no need for the board to try and understand where the money for that private investigation was coming from? And then my last one, Chair, is my money lodged a case against the Ruyter. What is the status of that case? You're aware of that case? And it relates to my first question. Do you agree that the Ruyter fulfill his duty. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, can we get responses to that? I asked that to be pointed. I'm told a security sweep has to take place here. So can we get responses to that? We're just still trying to negotiate additional time.
Thank you, Chair. Let's, in the interest of time, start with the operational responses and then the board will come last. So let's deal, as we did, with the preparedness in line with our recovery plan and the like to deal effectively with winter as best as you can. And then also Advocate Pillay, if you could deal with the security matters. And then at the end, I'll respond to the matters of Mr. Ruyter.
Thank you, Honourable Member, through you, Chair. I think, Chair, in terms of the grid collapsing, part of what is currently happening is to do that to protect the grid from collapsing. So I think where we are, though it's painful, Chair, but it is in the interest of protecting the grid. The technical challenges, Chair, in terms of how we are addressing it, maybe I would try to say, like the Chair did indicate, that we have shared the recovery plan that talks to the 2-year program. I think that's what we are seized with, and that's what we report to board as well on the progress as well. Because if we execute that one diligently, that's what will take us to the 65 end of March and 70 end of 25, like the Chair said, Chair. I think in the interest of time, Chair, I would like to stop it there, Chair. Thanks.
Chair, thank you. Let me just compliment Mr. Nxumalu's submission. Chair, I think the question that was asked by the member around will the grid collapse? Our task is to make sure that we avoid that to the honourable members, and the pain of load shedding that reduces demand to match available supply is what we are always working to balance every second of the day. And our task is to avoid that, and it may mean higher stages of load shedding if necessary and if we can't avoid it, but that's what we need to do to maintain the system in balance. And there's other efforts, Chair, which my colleague Mr. Bala may talk to around also energy efficiency, demand side management, etc., to help reduce demand in an efficient way without too much disruption, better than load shedding, or it may even be necessary in addition to load shedding. Perhaps Mr. Bala can comment, and then Advocate Pillay will discuss the security questions that were raised. Mr. Bala?
Thank you, Dr. Skeppers. Just on the demand side management, or on the energy efficiency side, we have launched a program to supplement what we already have on the demand management side, to make sure that South Africans in all walks of life, they actually use only what they need. We sincerely believe that there's a lot of scope for us to be more efficient in how we utilize and how we consume electricity, and that if each of us do so in a responsible manner, that we can actually ease the strain on the grid. Yes, we are involved in a number of programs that will include industry, that will include commercial, but that is also now extended to residential households. But I think the appeal to all of South Africa is for us to use only what we need, and also be vigilant in the state of the system. When we get the alerts, let's switch off our geysers. Let's make sure that in the lighting that we use efficient lights. The Chair always speaks about buildings like these, that in how we do the lighting.
Can we sort of...
So yeah, I think in summary, that's more on the demand side. Thank you.
Could Pillay?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Honourable Member for the questions. Just to answer, the role of security is predominantly to safeguard the assets of Eskom. That includes people, information, processes, systems, etc. It also entails an element of investigation that is necessary, notwithstanding the fact that there's a separation of roles between the Security Investigations Department and the Audit and Forensics team. Insofar as vulnerabilities are concerned, this is an ongoing exercise within Eskom, but I would like to highlight that control deficiencies seem to be a major issue. This is matters that we also determined from our investigations. Insofar as the legacy technology, which also poses a risk to Eskom, it creates risks of compliance and also opportunities for the bypassing of processes. So as a result, having looked at the security landscape, we have then also made an informed decision to invest in improving security at our sites. And that's where the 2 billion rand spend actually goes to, in terms of replacing security technology, that's your legacy systems, also supplementing resources at site. We do have an aging workforce in Eskom insofar as security is concerned, so we also do rely heavily on the private industry to supplement those resources, and we are also utilizing other mechanisms in order to deploy specific technology within areas of high vulnerability, for example, your weigh bridges at power stations. Since when am I appointed head of security? I have been intermittently acting since 2019. However, I was formally appointed on the 1st of August 2022. And just on the last question around the case against Mr. de Ruyter, the feedback that we received is that indeed the matter was registered and is under investigation by the SAPS. Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. My simple response to the questions you pose, Honourable Bekes, on Mr. de Ruyter, I'm going to respond guided by two principles of governance. The first one is that taking into account that the chief executive of any organization is an executive director, is a director of the company that they lead, two things come into play. One is to always act in the best interest of the company. That's the golden rule. And the other part is to avoid conflict, finding yourself in conflict to those best interests. And so in terms of how he conducted himself as an incumbent chief executive, even though he had a few weeks left to his end of tenure, he found himself in breach of those two principles of first and foremost putting the best interests of the company that he leads. Honorable members, let's imagine a scenario where every CEO of every publicly listed company, every state-owned company, just decide that the day they are in dissonance with the boards and the shareholders to whom they account, they can just go and do a public interview and just rattle on about whatever they are disgruntled about. Is that the kind of good governance, whether under the PFMA or under the Companies Act, that we wish for our country? I don't think so. Thank you.
Colleagues, I'm advised that the presiding officers had indicated that we do need to vacate here too. I had seen the disadvantage, Honourable Bekes, of coming last. I just want to say we're obviously going to have to continue with this Eskom process because the more things are said, the more questions arise. And I think that in some level we've gotten a sense of where Eskom's thinking is on this matter. And whilst the conduct of Mr. de Ruyter may be questionable insofar as a public interview is concerned, but it should not be a missed opportunity to interrogate the issues that he raises. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. To make an example, Muti, as a CEO, and the point is taken of good governance. But there are substantive issues is placed on the table which speak to the heart of the problems at Eskom. Second point is this, Chair. You have sort of said it's everybody else's responsibility but yourselves in a way. No, they must do this. I'm sure if your child goes to school, you've got an interest in what the teachers do. You've got an interest in the shuttle they take, the taxi they take to school, and so on. So Eskom can't divorce itself from the investigations that are taking place and say, no, it's not us, it's them. You've got a direct interest in those things. Thirdly, just a yes or no. Do you have a copy of this intelligence report as Eskom?
Chair, I've said emphatically before in replying to the first round of questions, we've never had sight of that report.
Right.
We don't know what is in the report.
So why that is important is this. You've got Mr. Ruyter, who was never vetted, presiding over an intelligence operation. It should be of interest to you that you find it and locate it. Because as far as I see it, it may in one part constitute a breach of Eskom's own security, Advocate Pillay. That information of Eskom, in one way or the other, was sourced by a private investigation, and up to now you still do not know where it starts and ends. So this report thing is of particular importance and interest to yourselves. Yeah. So I suggest
Is Advocate
that
Pillay vetted?
security clearance. We'll get the 350 that has been submitted.
What Ruyter doesn't trust him?
Babson. So that's why I'm flagging it. You can't have an elusive report
You have a head of security.
to the
you
tune
not trust
of
them.
50 million rands. It tells you its scope. And it's not in your hands. Yeah. So it's for Eskom to say its own property in one way or the other has formed part of an investigation. I think you've got a solid basis to make that assumption. So that's why I'm saying, colleagues, we'll have to come back to this thing. We will find time. Next week, when don't be the 17th, which is Wednesday, is the Minister of Public Enterprises, Mazamba, and some of the questions you asked, you can pose there about the China trip. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, colleagues, Mr. Chairman, to you and your board and the executives. Babumtipi, thank you for listening so patiently. I hope it gives you the perspectives that you need to continue driving the investigations. On Tuesday, we are dealing with? Tuesday is PRASA, colleagues. Wednesday is Minister of Public Enterprises as a continuation to these matters. Eskom, don't drop the ball. Yeah. I'm being euphemistic. Thank you very much, colleagues. Meeting's adjourned. Let's allow Sistombi's lunch at Sistombi. Prof, thank you very much on the virtual platform. Much appreciated.